I think I understood the question. Sorry, the line isn't as good as usual. I think we're seeing a lot of impacts, obviously, globally. I think if you consider from an insurance perspective, unfortunately, it looks like the financial market impacts are probably likely to be greater than we see in terms of claims experience. If you look at the types of business that can actually be impacted by this, then it's the full range of insurance. So whether it's mortality and increased death rates, whether it's increased health experience, whether it's actually looking at business interruption cover, which is what you were just talking about. It's important to remember most business interruption covers actually exclude non-physical damage. So generally speaking, these kinds of claims aren't actually triggering.
Alison, a number of major companies, in fact most global operating companies, have really cancelled a lot of their travel plans. What impact does that have on overall travel insurance?
So yeah, exactly. That's one of the areas of business that absolutely can be impacted. It depends again whether actually from the WHO perspective or from individual countries, whether this has actually been declared as a reason to stop travel, or is this just travellers, whether that be business travellers or whether that be for own personal travellers, adopting an abundance of caution in order to limit the spread of the disease, or whether it's because actually it's under guidance from public health authorities that people have cancelled their policies. They need to obviously reach out to their insurance company to determine whether it's covered or not covered.
And that's the key point here, isn't it? Because this doesn't have to be the disaster for insurance businesses that some might see it as, because it really comes down to governments making a declaration, and that will trigger the payouts ultimately.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I think this is an economic disaster, and it's certainly one for the health systems. I think it's important to remember that the health systems in many countries in the world actually are already increasingly frayed and under a lot of strain and pressure. One of the issues that was talked about in the Global Risks Report just earlier this year was exactly that, the fact that we are very ill prepared to be able to deal with these kinds of issues. If you look at the Global Health Survey, the index actually to look at global health security, it actually rated that even for sophisticated countries, so the 60 most developed countries in the world, out of a score of 100, most were barely around a 50. So actually from a security of the health system perspective, then unfortunately we were ill prepared to kind of face this type of pandemic.
Alison, I want to just get into the timeline around coronavirus and what you're planning now anticipates, because a number of corporates have been forecasting out until halfway through this year on the assumption that coronavirus improves or disappears or some sort of outcome there. But what do you make of the long-term implications? Because we have been pondering whether we do see an impact on business travel after this. A lot of companies have worked out that, hey, virtual meetings also work and they can save costs. There's that side, but also any correction in interest rates, which are now moved to ultra low levels again, that could take some time too. So what do you make of the implications for your business beyond just a 6-month window?
Yeah, clearly the last example we had of a significant health event like this was SARS, and at the time that we had that, China represented, it was certainly a lot less than 5%, probably closer to 2% of global trade. Now that number is obviously higher than 10%, and the implications for people's supply chains, we've seen a significant increase obviously in globalization and the interconnectivity, whether it's through trade, whether it's through travel, whether it's through just broader connection. So the implications of this is very hard to tell because we haven't lived through this before. We have not seen an event of this nature in today's very interconnected world. So how long is this impact likely to last for? I suspect we're going to be seeing this in the years to come rather than just in the weeks and the months to come. If you're a business, what you need to be thinking about is first and foremost, how am I making sure that I'm keeping my people safe? How am I making sure that I'm keeping my supply chain safe? And what am I thinking about in terms of the impact this is having on my customers? And that's not just a decision to be thinking about today. That's a decision to be thinking about in the coming months and the coming years. So are people going to reconsider how they're putting together their supply chains? Are we going to see changes and fundamental changes in patterns that business will put together in order to improve their preparedness should an event like this happen again? Because unfortunately, we have been seeing over the recent decades a significant rise in the level of these kinds of epidemics or pandemics. Over the last 3 decades, we've seen more than 12,000 types of events like this. So I think it's really important that people are starting to change the dynamic and how they're thinking about their level of preparedness.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.